Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us for Pretend City's Parent Webinar Education Series. Today, we are going to be talking about family mental health with our special guest, Hannah Thompson. So my name is Adri Van Wanterdam, and I'm the Assistant Manager of Education Programs at Pretend City. And I'm joined here today by Anna Page, who's our Director of Education, and she'll go ahead and introduce Hannah for us.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. We're so excited to have a dear friend and colleague with us today. Her name is Hannah Thompson, and her background is that she has a master's degree in early childhood development, and she is an early childhood mental health consultant with Startwell. Startwell is an organization that focuses on mental health for early care and education education providers. So Hannah actively supports early childhood educators and families throughout Orange County. She has a wide variety of experience working with young children and also supporting all their caregivers. So their parents, everyone in their family, and then also their teachers and directors and everyone that's involved with young children. She is also active in our field, specifically currently holds the position of Public Policy and Advocacy Board Chair for the Orange County Association for the Education of Young Children, and is also involved in various ways to advocate on behalf of children in our community. So thank you so much, Hannah, for joining us today.
Wonderful. Thank you both for having me. Thank you so much for that introduction, Anna and Adri. So as I shared, my name is Hannah Thompson, and I am an early childhood mental health consultant with Startwell. And I'm so excited to be here with you all tonight to talk a little bit about children and families' mental health. So a little bit about Startwell. Startwell is early childhood mental health consultation for early care and education providers. We were founded in 2017 by the Orange County Early Childhood Mental Health Collaborative, which is made up of 8 wonderful community agencies who are committed to supporting young children's mental health in Orange County. Currently, we are funded by the OC Healthcare Agency, Behavioral Health Services, Prevention and Intervention Mental Health Services Act under Prop 63. Our main goal is to partner with preschools and family childcare programs to support the provider's capacity to effectively work with children with challenging behaviors and build social emotional skills in all children. We connect early childhood providers to early intervention services in the mental health system, provide early identification and connections to early intervention and clinical care, increase the capability of early childhood providers and families to care for young children with challenging behaviors and mental health conditions, and reach the family through early childhood providers to educate, reduce stigma, and connect families and providers to community resources. So today we're going to look a bit at family and children's mental health and wellness, right? We're going to talk about what is family and children's mental health, what are protective factors, how to build a home environment that has protective factors in it, children's mental health conditions, and how we can support in those community-based agencies that are in Orange County to support you. So looking at children and families' mental health, to do this, we have to define what children's mental health is. So mental health is the overall wellness of how you think and regulate your feelings and behave within your environment, right? According to 0 to 3, in the infant early childhood mental health and wellness model, infant and early childhood mental health is the developing capacity of a child from birth, right, to age 5 to form close and secure adult and peer relationships. Secure adult and peer relationships include the relationship a child has with their parents, with their teachers, and with main caregivers. And then peer relationships are those peer-to-peer relationships of other children within their environment. It might be siblings, it might be cousins, it might be friends at preschool. It's a child's ability to experience emotions, manage emotions, and then express a full range of emotions, which is so, so important for a child to be able to identify their own emotions, right? It's from, I feel happy to, I'm really sad right now, or, my body is really calm right now. And then experts from a range of disciplines consider infant early childhood mental health to be the foundation of healthy lifelong development, right? Mental health is the foundation of healthy lifelong development. Awesome. While family mental health is the social, emotional, physical, and psychological factors of individuals that make up a whole family unit, right? I can think about my mom and dad, my 3 sisters, and my brother, right? They're my family unit, and their social, emotional, physical, and psychological factors make that unit up. A family's mental health is made up of the daily complexities of life, how the family handles stress, trauma, and how protective factors are implemented and modeled within the home, right? And so important to remember that mental health conditions can affect everyone, children from birth through adulthood, and that there are community-based resources to support every member of your family and those that you care for. Wonderful. So we can really see how family mental health plays into children's mental health and vice versa. So one of the ways we can highlight a family's mental health is by looking at the home environment and implementing protective factors, which support in safeguarding a child's perspective and supports in building overall resiliency. It is so important that as adults in our children's lives, we remember that we are shaping their physical, their social, emotional, and psychological environments, and that both the child and adult's mental health matters in the family unit, right? And affects the overall ability of the family to function efficiently, socially, and physically within their environment. So some of the things that we can do to support that and support our family's mental health is by implementing those protective factors. And to do that, we need to have reliable and predictable routines and schedules, right? Your morning always goes the same way. Your child gets up, it's time to come out of their room, right? You help them brush their teeth, get dressed, you go downstairs and you eat breakfast, right? That's a predictable routine in the child's day. They know that after breakfast, mom goes to her computer to work, right? And they get to hang out with dad for a while. It's a predictable routine and schedule, right? They also need reliable and predictable meal times and care activities. And care activities are typically described as meal times, bathrooming, sleeping routines, right? Children also really need nurturing relationships, right? With the intention of building strong, responsive relationships. Your child needs you to know them, right? This is how we can contribute to overall family mental health and a young child's mental health, right? Because if a child feels secure within their environment, they feel that they're able to explore and learn and roam, right? And children also need consistency in parenting and discipline and in redirection strategies as well. Consistency in parenting and discipline and in redirection strategies used by all caregivers in and outside the home. So one way that we can protect our children and our family's mental health is by recognizing that we're actively modeling to our children and building and teaching them the skills on how to be resilient, right? So resilient children are able to manage their emotions when they face adversity, right? This pandemic that we're right in the middle of, that's adversity. One way to support your child in their mental health and your family is by recognizing that as the adult, we're constantly modeling within our environment, right? Modeling by how we as the adults navigate difficult situations, navigate our stress, trauma, how we navigate grief, right? And also how we navigate joy and happiness and togetherness. So, resilient children are able to manage their emotions when they face adversity. This pandemic is an adversity, death in a family, divorce, loss of a job, right? Often, resilient children start by facing their feelings about the situation. Remember, they can tell you how they're feeling. Often, when they're older, they can recognize why. And then, resiliency is a skill learned over time. It's modeled by how caregivers navigate difficult situations, how we as the adult handle our stress, and what our children see. Resilient children often display or are building 7 key characteristics of resilience: competence, confidence, they're connected to the people around them, they're secure in themselves or their character, they're contributors to their social environments, and they're able to cope, right? They're able to cope with difficult situations. And young children aren't just born with resiliency, it's a skill built over time. And one way to build these skills, right, are to have protective factors in the home and in the environment, in the community. Increasing a child's protective factors helps develop his or her resiliency. Increasing a child's protective factors helps develop their resiliency. Resilient children understand that they're not responsible for their parents' difficulties, and they're able to move forward in the face of life's challenges. It is always important to consider the age and stage of development when supporting your child, right? So, a protective factor can be defined as characteristics at the biological, psychological, family, or community level, which includes both peers and culture, that is associated with a lower likelihood of negative outcomes. So, some of these protective factors are parent resiliency, social connection, right? Adult social connections with family members, with each other, with their peers, concrete support in the home, in the community, knowledge of parenting and child development, right? You logged on to Zoom, you're at a Pretend City parent webinar, right? That's already you building a protective factor. And then social emotional competencies of children, right? Socially knowing how to interact with others, how to build those friendship skills, how to work together, how to problem solve. And then emotionally, how to understand their own emotions, feel them, express them, and then being able to move on appropriately. Protective factors for children can include help and support from immediate and extended family members, a sense of being loved by their parent, positive self-esteem, good coping skills, right? Being able to handle adversity, positive peer relationships, interest in success at school or in their overall environment, healthy engagements with adults outside the home, right? Can your child engage with grandparents? Can they engage with the pediatrician? Are they curious about the person in line behind you at Target? An ability to articulate and appropriately express their feelings. I feel, right? Can they ask for a hug, right? Instead of hitting or having aggressive behaviors. Parents who are functioning well at home, work, and in their own social relationships is a protective factor for young children, right? And contributes to family mental health. And it's so true because you have to take care of yourself, right? To be able to take care of others that are relying on you. So, resilience and protective factors, right? And how we as adults handle adversity really affect family's mental health and your child's mental health and later in life, their ability to face adversity and express themselves as well. So, we can look at mental health conditions in young children, right? Because we know mental health conditions affect everyone from birth all the way through adulthood. So, some common mental health conditions, and this information is from Chalk Children's Hospital. So, anxiety, depression, difficulty coping with stressors such as chronic illness, right? A life or family change. That could be a wonderful addition of a new baby, right? Or the loss of a grandparent, right? Social or school concerns, and then grief and loss, such as death or grief and loss over the normality of our world, right? So, disruptive behavior disorders, attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, oppositional defiant disorder, eating disorders, post traumatic stress disorders, obsessive compulsive disorders, tic disorders, and autism spectrum disorders or ASD, right, are some of the mental health conditions that we see in young children, right? Some signs and symptoms that you might want to look for are changes in pattern or changes in the way a child thinks, right? Feeling or behaviors that cause distress or disrupt a person's ability to function within their environment. This is really big. Feeling or behaviors that cause distress or disrupt a person's ability to function within their environment. Mental health disorders in children are generally defined as delays or disruptions in developing. Think about age appropriate thinking, behaviors, social skills, and regulation of emotions. It's so important to remember, right? That your family mental health and early childhood and in children's mental health is affected by their social, emotional, physical, and psychological environments. Children can also be affected and predisposed to mental health conditions based on family history in their environment. Wonderful. So, how to support? If you're beginning to notice any signs or symptoms of mental health conditions in yourself, your child, or a member of your family, there are ways to effectively show support and find resources, right? There are local resources, there are national resources such as the National Association on Mental Illness or NAMI. So, one of the ways that you can support is by scheduling an appointment with a licensed medical professional, right? So, your primary care physician, if you're an adult, your pediatrician for young children, a psychologist, or a psychiatrist, right? You could try to intervene early through developmental screening, such as the Ages and Stages questionnaire that focuses on social and emotional development. And early intervention for young children is especially important because if we can help support young children when they're little, right, and get them services when they're small, we can support them as they grow. I'd also encourage you to track occurrences. Write down description of symptoms when you started to notice them and if they have changed over time. Another way to support is to continually build responsive relationships with your child, right? Or the young children you might work with, right? And responsive relationships are the type of relationship you think of when you think of your best friend, right? You know each other, right? You give eye contact, you problem solve together, you're on the floor playing with the child, right? You're following their lead, you understand their interests. You're continuing to provide stable, predictable routines and environments, and you have continued implementation of protective factors, right? The last way to support is to reach out to your community if you need support. Taking care of someone is a lot of work. So community-based and online resources, there's a whole community of mental health, behavioral health, and developmental health resources in Orange County that are so willing to support you and your family. So one of those resources is Chalk Children's Hospital, Start Well, Child Guidance Center, Regional Center, Help Me Grow, and Pretend City Children's Museum.
That's right, Hannah. And in the last year, Pretend City has really started to make a stride towards prioritizing children's mental health in our learning spaces. And one of the ways that we did this is we actually redesigned an entire exhibit dedicated towards children's mental health, building those protective factors within the family. And it's called the Mind and Body Studio. So be sure to check that out the next time you're visiting Pretend City. You and your family can engage in that space together and really work on some of the things that Hannah's mentioned today. Another way that we do this at Pretend City is we offer free developmental screenings for anyone in Orange County with young children. These screenings really help identify some of those early intervention things to look out for that Hannah mentioned earlier. So be sure to check those out as well as another resource that you can use to prioritize your children and your family mental health.
Wonderful. Thank you, Adri. And I have been to the Mind and Body Studio, and it is beautifully designed and so well equipped to really talk about emotions, to really, do some mindful exercises together as a family. And it's just so much fun. So there are a few other resources that we could mention about behavioral, developmental, and mental health in Orange County. And those are just reaching out to your pediatrician, through your local school district, through your insurance, and also through private marriage and family therapists. And then there are also some online resources, right, that focus on mental health. And these are national resources. So the National Association on Mental Illness, or NAMI, right, the Child Mind Institute, and 0 to 3.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Hannah, for joining us today. We loved your expertise on this area of children and family mental health. If you'd like more information on parenting resources or how to support your child through this difficult time, be sure to check out Pretend City's website for play-at-home guides, blog posts on parenting education in general, and just some tips and tricks to help you guys out. Join us next time as we tackle race conversations with our guest expert, Wilma Gold and Anna Page. We'll also be featuring Educators for Peaceful Classrooms and Communities, a great organization that will really help us tackle this topic. So thanks so much for joining us, everyone. We hope to see you next time.